This is the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, Show 81. 4 journeys, challenges, and lessons learned, a couple's roundup.
Yeah, I think that overall we've become much more mature entrepreneurs. We've become a little bit more mellow, and so that has really helped. And then also, like Mike said, having really delineations with, what we own, and Mike gets the final say on certain things. I get the final say on others, and we might disagree with each other. But whoever is the one that gets the final say in that category wins the battle.
Hi, Ariana here with a quick PSA about why this topic is so important to us. Tom and I know how challenging it can be to start and run a business, to take care of your loved ones, and on top of it all, to keep a healthy relationship with your spouse. It isn't easy, and that is why we created our Lifestyle Builders Mentorship Program. As a special offer during this very special Couples and Entrepreneurship Month, we'd like to invite you to get started with your first month of Lifestyle Builders for only $1. So if you, and your spouse is welcome too, need more strategy, support, and guidance in your business and life, plus people who truly care about you and will keep you accountable, sign up now at tomandariana.com/LBcouples with the code LBcouples. All right, we have come to the end of the month of September and our huge Couples Month series that we ran this month. And what better way to end it than by a couples foursome, we'll call it. We got 4 couples in one episode sharing a little bit about how entrepreneurship came into their lives, what it did for their relationship dynamic, and then, some of the challenges that they had to overcome.
Yeah, what's cool with this is where a lot of our other episodes were really long. We forced these couples to condense it down into like 5 minutes.
Yep.
So it's like rapid fire, like lots of good information, insight, not just from one couple, but from 4 all at the same time.
Yeah. So you're going to hear from Allie and Matt Owen from Owen Your Future. You're going to hear from Nick and Wendy Pearson from Endless Inspirations. You're going to hear from Aaron and Mike Kelly from Member Vault. And then you're going to hear from Chelsea and Max Care, who each have their own businesses.
Mm-hmm. So lots of different dynamics, just like we've had on the entire series.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this too, because they're each at a different level, different backgrounds. So like I said, lots of insights crammed into a little bit of time.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we'll let you guys jump in and enjoy.
So who are we? Well, I'm Nick.
And I'm Wendy.
And we are the Pearsons. Obviously, I'm the husband.
And I'm the wife.
We are an entrepreneur couple. We own and operate a website called endlessinspirations.net. Our company name is Endless Inspirations, and we sell craft items such as stencils and paper on Amazon, eBay, and our own website. So this is a little bit more about us. Who's the entrepreneur? Well, I was the one that was the entrepreneur when we met. However, we are now really more of a couple as far as an entrepreneur.
Or really more of a family.
Yeah, absolutely. We do actually have our son who does work for us in fulfilling our orders. So, yeah, it is pretty much a family-owned business. Okay, so one of the questions that we have is, when did entrepreneurship enter into your relationship?
Well, Nick already had the business, and he was running it before I met him. And so I married into the entrepreneurship.
And like Wendy said, I had the business going into this. And nice thing about it, it was portable. So when I moved from Reno, Nevada to be here in San Antonio, Texas,
with me,
the business came. So one of the other questions we have is, how has the business affected the relationship between you?
I think having the business is good for us. I think that it's given us a stronger hold. We have not just our personal life in common, but we have our work life, our future business life. And so we have many layers of relationship.
I would have to agree with that. I think that we never run out of stuff to talk about, whether it's the business or it's our own personal life. And somehow, some way, the conversation always blends between business, personal, and back and forth with no awkwardness or jumpiness about it. It just seems to be seamless when we talk like that.
It's because it's our whole life. Not that the business is our whole life. I don't mean that. I mean that our whole life includes everything. It's different from if I had a job at some corporation and Nick had a job at some corporation and we didn't know what either one of us were doing during the day. We're really vested in the business together, so we have that constant connection.
Now, as far as like the roles that each of us play and how we decided on them, they just kind of fell in place. I like to say I'm the CEO, but I'm really not the boss because this is not my role. But I do have the vision. I'm the one that's got the vision and the big picture. Like, this is where we want to be in 5 years. This is where we want to be in 10 years. Where Wendy is more of the day-to-day stuff. She's the boss. Just like in our marriage, I even say I may be king of the castle, but I'm not the boss. Actually, Wendy's the boss because she's the one that runs everything.
At least I like to think so, and Nick is polite enough to let me think that. I do mostly the creative stuff. I like doing arts and crafts type things, and so when Nick and I got together and he had his craft business, I actually ordered a roll of paper from him because I kind of wanted to know, well, what's this all about? And in doing so, I kind of reawakened an old artsy craftsy part of me that had been on the back burner for many years.
And that kind of leads into us for one of the other questions we have, which is what's one way each of you have grown since this began? For me, one of the challenges I've had is actually letting go and not being in control of every aspect of the business. And one thing I've found is because I've been able to do that we've actually grown, because I'm actually not having to fret over every single detail, and it allows me to focus more on that vision that I was talking about earlier. But also, I get to be more creative with the designing of our product, of our stencils. And that allows me to have a little bit more of that digital creativity. I'm not necessarily the crafter, but I do like being creative digitally. Where Wendy has actually grown dramatically with her creativity within the creative niche that we actually sell towards.
I really enjoy using not just our products, but I do buy some other products, and then I find a way to blend them together. And using the stencils that we've designed, either one I've designed or one Nick has designed, and finding interesting and exciting ways to use them in a couple of different creative niches that I enjoy.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Jarvis.
And I am Max.
Max who?
Caillé.
And we are an entrepreneur couple who work together. I have my business, which is Left Brained Hippie. I'm an intuitive money mindset coach.
And I run Coup sur Coup Media, which is a post-production business for audio and video. And I also run a record label called Coup sur Coup Records.
Right on. So we are both entrepreneurs. It wasn't always the case, though.
Nope.
I was the first I was the first one of us to bring this to the table with all of my harebrained ideas that for some reason you supported me, but finally one of them ended up working. So yeah, like how would you say that me being a business owner affected our relationship? I have my answer, but I want to hear yours before I share mine.
Well, I changed the dynamics. It changed the dynamic, really. At some point, we were, I don't know, looking for something different. We sort of lost our way and starting to go into business sort of together, relinked, I guess, our relationship.
Reinvigorated.
Exactly.
He's a frog, in case you haven't noticed.
Frog, French Canadian.
French Canadian. So yeah, it really invigorated because we were having a lot of trouble going down two separate paths. Him always wanting to be an employee and me wanting to do the complete opposite and having the freedom. And obviously those two ideals butted heads a lot. And eventually he decided to give entrepreneurship a try when he got laid off of his job. And history, the rest is history.
Yep.
So far, that was
made the jump, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, that was October, November.
Yeah, it's gonna be a year in October.
Yeah, so October 2017. So it's been almost a year that we've been at home, not getting on each other's nerves. Nope. Miraculously.
Yeah, no, it worked well so far.
Yeah, so Tom and Ariana, you're asking us what advice we have for other couples. Whew, how much time you got? No, seriously though, I think the biggest thing that really helped us was you believing in me. But once I actually asked you, why the hell did you believe in me when I had spent so much time pursuing businesses that didn't really work all that well, or like very mediocre? Do you remember what your answer was?
Nope.
Nope.
Not really.
Okay.
Well, I remember sort of what it is, but I'm not sure I can repeat it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'll tell you what you said.
Yeah, please remind me. It's not very clear for some reason.
Okay, so yeah, you told me that it was, I don't even remember exactly how the conversation went, but it was because one of my members was asking how to get her husband on board, and I asked him, like, why did you get on board with me when we really had no proof that any of this was going to work? And he said, because I could see that you were working at it. So like he could see that I was showing up every day. I wasn't just sitting around, sitting on hopes and dreams. I was actually going after it. And, you know, I guess a lot of people are kind of like wondering why their spouse isn't on board, but then they're sitting around kind of chasing their tail and not really actually chasing their dreams. Yeah,
well, each case will be different, I guess, but in our case, in our scenario, in our relationship, that was what I saw that made me, I've always believed in you and I always will believe in you, but that made me support you for whatever amount of time it took you to find your feet in that, and in the end it inspired me to start my business, so make the leap as well. And it's been almost a year, and now we're living in BC, up in the mountains, and having freedom to go to the beach whenever we want. We are madly in love with each other, and we love our children, and we're living the life, and that's it.
Yeah, that's
best move I've ever made, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for Chelsea.
Yeah, top 5 at least. Yeah. I'm kidding.
Best move with marrying me.
Yes. It's being an entrepreneur couple has afforded us a freedom that a few years ago, it would have been hard to even fathom that kind of freedom, particularly for you, I think, because you didn't grow up with an entrepreneurial family. No. I did to an extent. My mom was an entrepreneur, so.
Yeah, no, it's never in my interest. Well, that's not true, because I was sort of doing it with my bands and everything, but I was so focused on music that it narrowed down my vision, I guess, and I was not seeing it as entrepreneur.
As a business.
But as a business, but in some sense that's what I was doing for 21 years in bands. But anyways, long story short. So I'm glad that I've relinked my passion for that in a new way.
Yeah, and I think the last piece of advice would be communication.
Yeah, communication is very important. Yeah. Trust, communication, and be in love enough with each other to not get on each other's nerves, I guess.
Be in love with each other more than with the business. Yeah, that's good. All right, so thank you so much for having us on here, Tom and Ariana. I'm super excited about this, and so excited for everybody listening, all of these entrepreneur couples and what they're going to build. All right, so you can find us at leftbrainedhippie.com for my intuitive money mindset coaching.
And coussurcomedia.com.
We'll put that in the show notes because I'm pretty sure most people who don't speak French are like, what did he just say? Okay, so thank you so much and see you soon.
Bye.
Hi, Tom and Ariana. It's Allie and Matt Owen here. And we are over at owenyourfuture.com. We are financial coaches for millennials looking to get out of debt and have more freedom in their lives.
Me and Allie started our entrepreneurship journey probably 2 years ago when we stumbled onto the idea of financial independence. And when we started looking more and more into how we could retire early, it just kind of led us down this path that I think naturally morphs into trying to start a business around a passion of yours, doing something you love, accelerating your path to financial independence, but also building something that we want to work on after we no longer need the money from a 9-to-5 or from a job.
So we are both entrepreneurs and we work directly together on the same business. We also have a keto and paleo baked goods company too that we work together with. In terms of dynamics, I am definitely the extrovert, the one that does a lot of the social media posting, a lot of the outreach, a lot of collaborations, whereas
I'm more of the detail and technical side of things. So particularly with like our coaching, I do a lot of the nuts and bolts training, more of like the numbers and projections around finances is stuff that I really love, but also just in the business, things with websites, tech support kind of things is definitely falls into my realm.
definitely. So I think our strengths definitely balance each other out. Matt's more detail oriented. I'm more big picture visionary. Matt's more technical. I'm more social. And so, yeah, I think our roles in the businesses play a lot to our strengths.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
And we never really, we kind of defined them over time, but we've kind of just allowed ourselves to fall into the type of work that makes us the happiest and that we enjoy the most. And then obviously when those other things come up that kind of fall outside of what we kind of self-declared as our roles, we just negotiate those as needed. Say this needs to get done, who wants to do it, and one of us will take it.
Definitely. So I definitely think the biggest challenge for us was when we left our jobs in April of this year. We gave ourselves a really short timeline on converting this Sprinter van into a camper van. And in the midst of that, the day before we were leaving for our trip, we had a hack and lost $17,000 in a cryptocurrency hack that we'll never get back again. And yeah, that was the day before we left on our trip. And so I think we were exhausted, and then we just felt like personally defeated. Like maybe this was the wrong choice. Like maybe we should have stayed in our jobs longer. Maybe, just very much living in the past and like regretting our choices.
Yeah, definitely a scarcity mindset set in, a lot of, doubt, I think, around whether we were making the right choice. When you have these things come up that are opposition to your goals, it just makes you feel like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be going this direction? Because it's hard. And I think what we've learned is that those are usually a sign that you're going the right direction. The universe has a weird way of putting obstacles in your way to kind of test you and see if you actually want what you say you want. So I think we've learned a lot growing through that, but it was definitely very challenging, and still is at times that we slip into doubt and comparison and just questioning whether we have the skills or abilities or if this is what we should be doing. So I think it's something you probably never get over 100%.
Yeah.
But something that we've grown a lot just in our mental strength around following our passions and our own conviction.
Definitely. And I think just reminding ourselves that we chose the uncomfortable thing, like we chose the hard thing. And if we wanted easy and if we wanted comfortable, we would have stayed in our engineering jobs and, stayed there for the next 50 years and, had nice cars and nice things, but those weren't aligned with our values. And then we would have been living inauthentically to who we truly are. And so I think remembering that the hard things are oftentimes the biggest growth experiences. I think advice to other couples in entrepreneurship is communicate, communicate, communicate. We have the blessing and curse of living in 60 square feet with each other. And so whenever something comes up, or, you know, someone is feeling some sort of emotion, we both get to experience it. And so that is a huge blessing in that we are forced to communicate with each other all the time on how we're doing, how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about our businesses. Is this going where we want it to go? It's also really hard because you don't get to escape, go into the other room and pretend, you know, everything is peachy. So yeah, I would say lean into the vulnerability and be real with each other all the time.
Definitely. And I think my piece of advice would be just around the financial bit, just because that's, you know, more my speed. Really, we prepared pretty heavily for leaving our jobs. So even before we started trying to build businesses, we were saving super heavily. We saved about 70% of our income for 4 years before we finally quit. And we did that just to give ourselves the ample time and room to, you know, experiment and know that businesses don't necessarily happen overnight. Things always take a little bit longer than you think they will. And I know it's definitely been the case for us. We're not, a lot of times when we look at it, we're not quite where we had hoped we would be or thought we would be by now. But I think that's just the nature of business and needing to pivot and adjust as you go. So I would say prepare yourself financially, make sure you have a long runway, and you're not going to feel the stress of having to make money next month, because it could force you to make decisions in your business that aren't good for the long-term health of your business or what you really want out of your business because you're too focused on the money.
Thank you, Tom and Ariana, for having us on.
Hey, it's Mike and Erin Kelly from Member Vault. We have been entrepreneurs together for probably 10 years now. We've run multiple businesses, and Member Vault is our newest baby. We love it. But we're recording this right now with a 3-month-old strapped to Mike because we're also parents, which makes things extra interesting. And Mike is the developer and co-founder of Member Vault. He is the tech brain behind everything that we do. And he also manages most of our customer service alongside our customer service team member. And then I handle all of the marketing and outreach. So it works out really well and has been a fantastic business for us. When did entrepreneurship enter our relationship? Well, it's funny. We actually met in New York City, and I was working at Disney corporate real estate. Mike was working at a really awesome development firm. And we realized that we wanted to have more flexibility in our life. And I'll let Mike go a little bit into more depth about how that worked.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Aaron had a very good design eye, the marketing background, and I was a developer, and I built, you know, websites and software, and so we became kind of natural allies in this world, and we wanted to kind of get rid of our 9-to-5 and get a little more flexibility in our life, and so we started a long time ago. A little business called Conure Studios, which we were building websites for small businesses, and so that was our first dip into entrepreneurship. It's evolved greatly since then, and here we are about 10 years later with our own SaaS company, Member Vault.
Yeah, and it has been quite the journey. I think through those businesses, we've learned so much about working together and the things that work and the things that don't, and our different strengths and weaknesses. So it's been really helpful to have that span of time. And I know when we first were hothead in our 20s, hothead entrepreneurs, and we had opinions about how things needed to go, we weren't necessarily the best business partners, and yet now it's so smooth, and it's just the best business I've ever worked in. It's so satisfying.
Agreed.
One of the biggest challenges that we've had to work through together definitely started when we first started our first business, Conure Studios. And we were terrible about it in the beginning in terms of stepping on each other's toes and being what we call racehorses, you know, really intense. Our opinion is the best opinion, and that's the way that we're going to do it. And so we butted heads a lot with our first business.
Yeah. I know I was really guilty of being like, oh no, we don't need to do that, because I was coming at it from an engineering type of background, and I was coming from a marketing background. So we really just butted heads a lot on like, what is the final say? Like, okay, well, what are we going to do here? And so one of the biggest things that we've learned in working together over the years is that, of course, we're going to work on a lot of the same stuff, but somebody always gets the final say in certain areas. So in tech, engineering, that kind of stuff, like I'll kind of get the final say over that. And I know for marketing, outreach, design, anything like that, like Aaron gets the final say. And that really works well, because I know for me, I can have an opinion, but I know that, like, okay, that's not my area, so I'll back off, and you can run with that.
Yeah, I think that overall we've become much more mature entrepreneurs. We've become a little bit more mellow, and so that has really helped. And then also, like Mike said, having really delineations with what we own, and Mike gets the final say on certain things, I get the final say on others, and we might disagree with each other, but whoever is the one that gets the final say in that category wins the battle. So it's created a really great working relationship for Member Vault. And I think all of the things that we learned from our experience in Pioneer Studios has led into having this really smooth, seamless working relationship in our current business. And the other challenge, like I mentioned, we're also parents. So we have a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old. And so that has been quite the challenge, learning how to run a business while also parenting, and whether we wanted to have childcare. And, we also were digital nomads, and we traveled for a year in an RV. So we obviously didn't have childcare then with our first kid. And so that was really quite challenging and very interesting, finding out like how to grow a business while you're also juggling being a parent and, being the best person in both of those roles.
Right. Having unplugged time, kind of drawing lines where like, okay, we're having family time. It's not time to talk about the next thing with work, or not the time to whip out your phone and do customer service and stuff like that. So I think it's certainly one of my challenges, is to know when to unplug and be like, okay, it's family time. So that's been a challenge.
Yeah, that's an ongoing challenge. I mean, like Mike said, like we were so passionate about Member Vault, we could talk about it 24/7, and that definitely would be our default. And so often we'll fall into that habit where we're jamming out on our newest feature or this strategy that we're going to be doing for outreach. And we look over and we're like, well, wait a second, this is actually family time. Like, let's hang out with our toddler and do Legos and not talk about work stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The most important advice I think I would give for other couples that are interested in working together or creating, a business that can fund both of their lifestyles is to really respect each other. I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to respecting that the other person knows what they're talking about, respecting that they can make the final say, and even if you don't agree with them, that it's going to be okay. And so ultimately, I think all of the things, all of the lessons that we've learned it comes down to respect.
Yeah, I disagree with all that, and she has no idea what she's talking about. No, I'm kidding, of course. Yeah, I think that really encapsulates it. The way I said, when we talked about one of the biggest things that we've learned working together, it's kind of having a little delineation. It's wonderful to work together, and I love working with Erin. I really do. But it's really nice that she doesn't try to tell me like what kind of tech decisions to make, or like what our servers should be at and stuff like that. And I don't tell her what we should do with our ads or like stuff like that. So,
or our email automation.
No, that's not my area. But it works really well, and I trust and respect that that she's going to do the best, make that best move for there, and she trusts and respects me to make that best move for our tech side or something like that. So.
Yeah, and beyond that, I think communication, obviously, for any working relationship is super important. We've learned so much working together because we've had open communication. How is this making you feel? Like, what's working for you? What's not working for you? And so when you have that open communication and the respect, it's going to evolve into a really great working relationship.
Agreed.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. And just a reminder, as a special offer during this super special Couples in Entrepreneurship Month, we'd like to invite you to get started with your first month of Lifestyle Builders for only $1. Sign up now at tomandariana.com/lbcouples with the promo code LBCouples. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.